And let's just do the entire screen. And someone must have fixed HDMI at some point, so no more having to like do the weird streaming thing anymore. All right. Yeah, I think the first thing we'll be doing when we're all set up is I'll probably start doing the picking up the object stuff, which will also include we have to redo this little log guy down here since we don't want to just drop the model. We want to actually have an item. Yeah, that's no problem. You know, have you tried 4.6 yet? I haven't tried it yet.
I've tried.
Oh, how is it?
Nothing that I know of.
I thought at least like the UI was changed, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I haven't noticed anything different from 4.5 and 4.6 because I did the procedural generation in 4.6 and on the project we were working on 4.5. It seemed the same to me.
Gotcha. So that's like usually like some smaller things. Like I think 4.5, one of the things they do is like inverse kinematics. And I think they improved some of the stability for web exports, but I know there's still some progress they're working on there. All right, so you all set up? All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a new scene. And I'm just going to call it, I think just log should do us fine. And I'm going to go to my models. Where is my lovely autumn log? There you are. And I'm going to add my groups to the log, like the autumn log model, just to make it a bit easier to detect it. So I think all we need is a single group. I forgot, I never actually did detecting what the object is based on groups. So it was just a single group just to know it's a pickup item. So you just need it on your autumn log. Then we're going to go back up here, switch back to inspector, go to metadata. And the first thing I want to do is I believe I want to change this to string. There we go, string. And I'm going to call that loot. And I'm going to do another one that's going to be int. And that's going to be amount. Right, yeah. So I'm just going to put log in the loot area, and I'm going to change the amount to 1, just so whenever you do the pickup function, we'll be able to know that's like a log, and it gives us 1 log for it. So that also means you could change however many logs you get from a single log if you really want to. So you probably don't want to get 100 logs from it, but it's up to you. And I'll go ahead and save this as log. There we go. And I'm going to go back to my player. So before I go ahead and start doing the whole pickup logic, I figure I should actually go ahead and set up our UI even for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and find a thing for that real quick. UI. And we're going to have a fair bit of UI to do. It's not crazy. So first, actually, oh no, we did do our cursor. I didn't realize we did that. So we're all good there. I believe our inventory is actually telling it grid, so you could have multiple if you wanted it. So grid container. There we go. Switches us to 2D. I'm going to place this guy on the bottom. And let's do 9 columns. And I'm going to call it inventory so it's easy to access. And let's go ahead and add a panel container. And then in that panel container, I'm going to add, make sure, I believe it's an HBox? No, okay, VBox. VBox container. And then I'm going to add, I believe, 2 labels. This one should be name. Name. And the next one is going to be amount. If I recall correctly, the way I code this, it actually won't require us to really name them, these particular names here, but it just helps you know like what that's going to be in the order. So name, of course, will be like whatever your item is. Someone's going to call like wood there so we can see what it'll look like. Let's put like a 1. So since we can see that now, we can get a bit better of idea for how we want to style all this. So I think, okay, all those labels up there should be good. So let's go ahead down here. I'm going to go to my layout on my VBox. Go to container sizing. Or actually, no, never mind. This is just going to be custom mins. I think I want like 100 has to be the custom minimums. And you know what? Let's make it also 100 there. Yeah. Just so you have like a rough idea of like how big your inventory panels should be. You can change that around if you want. That's just, I thought that looked a little bit nicer. I'm going back to my labels. Let's make those both centered actually. And let's see. I believe there's a thing here, theme overrides. No, I'm trying to recall. I forgot I didn't put this in there. Oh, I think 45, yeah. So you can also do like a similar thing. Your labels, go to custom minimums, change their Ys to 45. There. So it should look relatively okay. At least like your number will be like centered towards the bottom, and your name will be up there as well. So it gives also a bit of space for your name to be as big as you want. In fact, actually, to make that work a little bit better, I'm going to go back here to my label for the name. And there should be a way to turn on word wrapping. Oh, there we are. Word wrapping. Let's do word. And that should also let us then be able to wrap our words if we give it like a name that's too long. That should be good there. And I'm just going to remove the text now since we just know how that's going to look. I just wanted to give like a quick reference. And with all those, I'm just going to grab this guy. I'm going to copy and paste a bunch of those into my inventory until I have 9 of them. And you want to make sure they're all children of the inventory and not children of like each other. That would definitely mess up with your code. There we go. That gives you like a basic little inventory UI we'll be able to mess with. Does yours look roughly like that? Okay.
Wait, did you know you
I did actually a grid, like for like the inventory one, and I gave it 9 columns. You can do each box if you want. I just figured the grid gives you like a bit more usability.
Wait.
Oh no! Actually, just go to your inventory and check on your columns. Change columns to 9. Fix it.
Okay, and then all of these go inside the box, or
No, the V box is like a
I'll
child.
just take it out of some V box. Alright, that's super good.
And I think you just want to go to your inventory and anchor it to the center bottom.
Center bottom.
Yep. Is it already?
The little V boxes are
Okay, it should be. So I didn't see it right on my end, but that's good. So with that, we should be good to start doing some coding. So let me make sure I get all this right. Okay, we already have our basic inventory code. So the big thing we're going to do is actually for picking up stuff. So I'll get started here. If pickup object is not null. So this is going to be actually, oh, I just realized that should be underneath our mining object stuff. Since that's partly why we did not hide all that stuff from doing mining, so we can do it after all that. Here we go. And we're going to grab that cursor and self modulate equal color. And for instance, picking up stuff, I'm going to make it like a green. But of course, you can make that whatever color you want. If input is action just pressed, and you should have one for, I believe, should just be like pickup, right? Oh, or did I not make one? Okay, no, it's called interact. There we go. For interact, var can pick up equals false. Var slot equals 0. in range 0 to the length of your inventory, then if inventory at I has, let's see, pickup object dot get meta loot or inventory I equals 0, and can pick up equal true, slot equal I, and we're gonna break, and then if can pick up, and if length of that inventory slot equals 0, then inventory at that slot equals, we're gonna do this whole thing, get meta loot, pick up object dot get meta amount. So there's going to be a bit more to this, but I figure I'll stop real quick to explain how all this is all working. So let me actually, did I add that code in? Okay, no, I'll have to add a real bit of code in to actually detect that object. But assuming you've detected a pickup object, that's going to go ahead and change that cursor to be green, so you know you can actually go ahead and like right click on it to take it. So of course the if statement is for checking if you right clicked on it or whatever your traction button is. And then this little like loop here and those two variables are used to check if you actually have a slot to put the item in. So of course initially assumes you can't pick it up and there's like just a 0 for your slot, but it'll go through, it's going to check and see if you either have an inventory slot that already has that like item in there, in which case you just add to it, or if you just have an empty slot. And then if you do, it just goes ahead and tells you can't pick it up, tells you what that slot is, and it breaks there instead of just continuing on. So that way it also makes sure like you fill like the leftmost slot in your inventory. Similar to like a sword game like Minecraft or whatever, where it's usually the way they go. And then if you can't pick it up, then it's going to make check to see if there's already nothing in that slot. Because if there's nothing, then you might as well just make it like a whole new array in there for telling you first like that's the item and then that's the amount.
Okay, so the default values of the inventory could be like 0.
Actually, the default values in your inventory should just be empty arrays.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's links. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm using links, I figure that's a bit easier there to like detect. Otherwise, you have to like set everything as like empty, comma, I don't know, like 0 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's whatever way you want to do. Both methods can probably still work. And then in that case, where it does not, I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this guy because it's going to be similar but a little bit different. Because in this part here, where we're going to take that amount, we're actually going to add inventory slot, I believe it's 1, because 1 will be indexing it at the like second position in there, which is where the amount should be. And it just adds that to the amount of whatever item you're getting. Should be simple enough. And let me see. Okay. You got that? All right. I'll go ahead to the next line. And then from there, we're going to find what slot container we're messing with. So we're going to grab, I believe it's inventory, get child, and we're going to get, I believe, slot. Then we're going to get that thing's first child. So that's whatever slot container we're messing with. And then slot container get child 0 dot text equals pickup object dot get meta output. And I'm going to take this whole line there again because that's going to be, oops, that's going to be something similar. And we're going to turn into a string what we just put in that slot. I, and then we're also going to take up that pickup object. We're going to, oh, not I, it's going to be 1. Q free. There we go. So these 4 lines there, it just first finds whatever slot in your inventory you're messing with. So that slot container is essentially that VBox container there. And with that, that first child's going to be your name tag. It's going to give it the name of like that loot that you're grabbing. And it just works either way if you do have something in the inventory slot or not already. So it should work out. And then, of course, it's going to turn to a string, however many of that amount you have in there. Put that in the second label you have down there. That should just be for amounts. And then, of course, whatever objects you are picking up should be destroyed afterwards. Otherwise, you'll take it up infinite amount of times, and that's probably not good for balancing. So from there, it's just a little bit of doing outlifs. I believe it's here, outlif mine object equal null. Then we're going to grab this guy, self-modulate, color, and I believe you just turn it white. Actually, I think it's usually the default, so it should be good there. And all right, so that's all we need for the actual code of picking up an object. I just need to actually make it so we can detect it in the first place. But do you have this guy down? All right. And I'm going to check through my papers and make sure I get this function right. I did have it from last time. I just forgot we didn't get to it. Let me see. Okay, it's just a simple thing. So I'm going back up here. We did like all this raycast stuff. So after we did that whole thing of checking if it's mineable, I'm just going to grab this line here. Instead of that, we're going to check if it's a pickup object. But also, I believe, don't we do one more? Okay, we do one less get parent. And this will count in every case as a pickup object because it should be a rigid body. And when you import those as like rigid bodies like I did before, you have like one less parent between like you and like that scene we're referencing. So it shouldn't break anything. I just thought I'd explain that because it looks a little bit weird. All right. And that pickup object is going to be, we're going to grab this guy. And I think we also do one less get parent here. Let me make sure. Yep, 2 get parents. All right. So it should be very similar to you like check if it's mineable. You just do one less get parent, and of course check that's a pickup thing. But with that, we save all of it. Should work. It's been a while since I did this, so I'm hoping it still works. Let's go mine a tree. That was a lot more logs than I remembered. And my thing is not detecting for me. Let me double check to make sure I did all this right. Oh, okay, I know why. It's simple. Because when we did that code, I think to begin with our trees, we set to be the model. I forgot to change it to the actual scene we did. So go back to your tree over here and go to, I think it's, yeah, the scene up there. And we're going to change this drop over here. I'm just going to do, whoops. There should just be a way to load. I believe there is. Yeah, quick load. And I'm going to grab my log scene. So you might have to scroll down a bit in there to find the quick load, or you could just clear it first and then do it. You got it? All right, let's see if that fixes our little problem here. Let me see. Okay, my thing is still not. I think those should be logs. Let me double check on my end. All right, log scene, yep. I'm also going to turn that down to like 2. I had way too many there. Let me make sure you should be good. Is it working for you?
I don't have the same issues yet.
Gotcha. So let me double check real quick. Pick up. And is it pick up? Oh, I named mine wrong. It's with a lowercase u. So I guess you have to make sure on your end if it's a similar thing. Got a lowercase sensitivity. Okay, my thing looks like it's working. Yep, and there we go. So I was able to pick up my logs there just by right-clicking on them, and they go right into my inventory. Does it work for you?
Not yet. I need to make sure that my the
Does it at least turn green when you look at them?
So that's definitely a problem. You know, on the error on the logs. So lowercase, and your group is on that guy.
You want to go back to that code real quick? Yeah, no problem. Function 8. And okay, yeah, here it is. The big thing that matters is at least that your pickup object gets something that it is. So if we want to like test it, for instance, you could put like a print statement under here, like print is picking. And that way you can see if it's even detecting it at all real quick. Because it should be able to get it.
Actually, that's on my end.
It's not getting the print statement?
I wonder if it's.
Let me see. Because we can open up. I'm just going to open this guy. Let's open up your log real quick to make sure it looks right. It should look like this guy. If you go to the log scene, it's click on film looking button. When you open anyway. Okay, so yours looks the same. So it should be going through the right like motions. We can close out that scene then real quick.
You put the pickup on the child object instead of the.
Yeah.
Okay.
You also put it on both to see if it makes a difference for you. Because it won't really make a difference like code wise. You just like turn it on and see what happens. We could even make it so. Let me check real quick. You'll do like a print statement here, for instance, and make it output whatever you're colliding with.
Okay, it actually did.
Oh, it's working?
When I had it on the
Okay. Well,
I don't know if this was the case for you, but it doesn't actually reset. It doesn't like stop the pickup object. It never sets the pickup object to null if it's not detecting the collision. At least.
Oh. Okay, I do get what you mean. Actually, we can just fix it real quick. Let's go down here, and all we gotta do is set our pickup object equals null. So I didn't actually have that in my code, but I guess I never saw it being a problem for whatever reason. So let's check real quick. At the very least, like, are you able to pick up everything just fine?
Yeah, I can pick it up. Yeah, I can pick it up fine.
All right. Well, at least it doesn't cause any major differences, so we should be able to move on to crafting. I think that's the next thing to do. Actually, do you want to add in the ability to push items real quick?
Whatever's next in the section.
Gotcha. Well, no, I just kind of go around though. I have them just in sections.
Sure.
Yeah, this guy's pretty simple. We just go down to here to our move and slide. And we're going to do for I in, wait, what? Oh, sorry. I did not understand. That's not a range thing for once. It's actually get slide collision count. All right, yeah. Var C equals get slide collision I. Then if C dot get collider is rigid body 3D. And oh wait, let's get rid of that guy. That guy. I got too used to being if statements real quick. That was my bad. And c dot get collider dot apply central impulse negative c dot get normal times our push force. Here we go. That should be all you need, where it just checks for whatever stuff you're colliding with, goes through each of those and checks if they're a rigid body. Then if it does, it takes that collider, which is the rigid body, and applies like an impulse, like push it in like the opposite direction, well, direction you're facing essentially. So test it out real quick. We should be able to push around those logs now that we mine. Let's try that real quick. And okay, my thing lags a little bit, but they are getting pushed. My laptop just, yep. So there we go.
I'm still having the issue where like it's the cursor stays green regardless, but like I think other than that, it seems like
And if I had to assume it just might be where that else if is real quick. Let me check. It is. So it should be right here, just indented by 1 after all that. Is it for you?
yeah, I think so.
All right. And is your mine object stuff before that? Like basically the whole thing where you checked if the mine object is not null, all of that should be above your pickup object stuff.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, I'm not entirely certain, but I don't know. That's a little bit weird. I guess we could just move on to crafting, so we can go ahead and do all that. Actually, one small thing we'll do, let's go ahead and add in sticks using the same way we did our logs. Because we'll want to make like a sword, and a sword probably needs more than just a log. So I'm going to call this node 3D in a new scene, just stick. I'm going to switch to 3D so I can see how this looks. And I believe I have a stick object here. Let's grab that guy, put it there. And let me make sure I do it right based on that guy. Yep, metadata in that guy. I believe it's just pick up. Lowercase. I'll do that for both, like how it seems you need to do. Make sure my metadata is on the top guy. Metadata is up here. So I'm going to make loot with a string, and then amount as an int. And for loot, I'm just going to call it a stick. And I'm going to give it 1 stick every time you pick it up. And let's just save that as stick, as a scene. And I'm going to go back to my tree real quick. And now that we have a second object we can drop as loot, let's go ahead and add an element to our drops. I'm going to go ahead and actually let me make sure I can do, I believe, object. Let's grab that stick. Wait, nope, that's the model. That's not what I wanted. I wanted scene. Where is, there we go, stick as a scene. And we're going to want, hang on, int, let's say 2.6. Do you need help going through all that again? Or do you want me to, all right. Because it's mostly just building off those same systems. So once you like do them the first time, it's relatively easy. In fact, you can even add like your like rocks and stuff as well if you want to. So I forgot to actually add anything you can really get from rocks. I meant for them to be like mineable for like stone or something else, so you just get more rocks, I guess. But oh, it's something. Anyway, I'll save all that. I'm gonna make sure that works real quick. I'm gonna go up to my tree. I need to add more trees at some point, but a single tree is all right enough, I guess. But there we go. Now I can also get some sticks. And you see they also still sort correctly in our little inventory here. And with all that, it's actually time for us to go ahead and start doing the crafting, because our lovely sword will need both items. Let me make sure. It's going to need a little bit more UI. I just need to make sure I have it all set up correctly. All right. So because it's going to be modular, part of this, I'm just going to go ahead and let's close out that inventory real quick. And let me check actually one small thing. Did I forget to actually show where I put that? I think it's going to be, we're just going to make it an H box, H container, and let's call it, not craft, it is crafting container. And we're going to put this guy on our center right. That's where all of our crafting stuff is going to appear whenever we press a certain button. But because they're not going to appear, actually, we'll keep it visible for now. Eventually, we'll make it so we can toggle it on and off. But for now, it's just going to be like this. Save this real quick. But to make it modular, we're going to make each crafting panel its own scene, so we can add them in right at the start of the game based on the amount of recipes. So we're going to make a new scene. I'm going to make a, I think, panel container, if I recall. Here we go, panel container. My organization is not as good as I had hoped. Okay, it's crafting window. I'll change that in a bit. It'll be fine. Where's crafting? Yeah, no, this is way too many papers compared to what I thought. Should be simple enough. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, so let me see. Under our crafting panel, we're going to put a V-box so we can align everything. Oh, so I thought I made that panel first. My bad. Let me add in that panel container, and then V-box. And then we're going to add a label first so we know what we're crafting and what it takes. And then we're going to add a button. And we're going to call that craft button. And just so we know this should look, let's go ahead and add a little bit in here. So like wooden sword as an example. And we want it to be like 1 log, 1 stick. Let's go ahead and make that center aligned. There we go. And we're going to go to our craft button and just put craft. And we're going to call this guy, I believe, crafting panel. I'm going to give it a script. The script will be pretty simple, where we're going to just take our button down here, give it a signal that goes to our crafting panel, and we need to export var recipe number int equals 0. And I think this is going to be a few get parents. Let me see. Yeah. So I'm sorry for the amount of get parents. It just kind of ended up this way. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 different get parents because you got to go all the way up the tree. And craft button pressed. And we're going to give it recipe number. So basically the whole point of this is like your craft button can reference like something that has like the recipe number that it's like using, and it's going to go to your script and tell it, hey, you're crafting this certain recipe item. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right. And I'm just going to call that crafting panel. There we go. Oh, and one small thing I'll do for our little button here. So I'll go to inspector, I'll go down to mouse. Let's change that from arrow to pointing hands and default cursor shape. So that way, whenever you're hovering over your mouse button, it's actually properly a pointing hand, so it doesn't look so weird. And it's always a small thing I do. I feel like it just makes a nice little difference. But that should be everything you need in this scene. Do you have it? All right, so we're gonna go back to our player. And I think from here on out, it's mostly just a bunch of scripting. So I'm going to start at the top. Let's go ahead and add in some recipes. Of our recipes, it's going to be an array. Actually, it's going to be an array of arrays with some extra arrays in there. Wooden sword. Oops, that's not that. And then log 1. All right, yeah. And then stick 1, 1. All right. So I'll explain how this works real quick. So this first entry is, of course, what you're trying to craft. That'll be the name displayed in there for you to see. And then this little array here that's taking up an entry is going to be containing what items you're using. And each item is essentially another smaller array, first of like the item itself, like search your inventory for, and then how many of each you need to find. So in that case, it does it twice, like once for a log and once for a stick. And then that last entry is how many of the items you'll be crafting. So mainly helpful when you're doing sticks, because let's actually go ahead and do that real quick.
How is that a thing?
Which thing?
The fact that you've got like 4 arrays inside of each other and one of them, and then you just got like a string. Like, that just
You can put as many arrays as you want.
that disgusts me.
Oh, I should show you my a project that I picked up in Harlow.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the item paths for your items.
All sorts
Since
of stupid fucking
These ones
data.
here, they're more for like visual and knowing like what they are in your inventory, but they won't actually go to like whatever scene you're referencing.
Yeah.
So we need to make a path to this. So
Trace
it'll be
through the
item paths,
metadata structures. It's a mixture of maps and arrays all nested in
wooden
each other.
sword,
And I have to trace through the nested.
and we're gonna grab
every time
this guy, copy his path,
I want to access something and stuff like get parent doesn't exist either.
similar sort of thing, log, and let's grab the log's path from, let me see, here, copy that path, put it here,
Yeah. I know Harlow and I just
and let me double check. So we want our stick.
But I will say that, like,
There we go. So that's just a basic little dictionary.
this thing was the one
Alright,
that
And next,
that I could use
crafting panel, load,
that will capture.
and we're just gonna load up that scene. This variable is just so we can like spawn them all already having that thing loaded up. Then next, we're gonna check if we are crafting. And we set that, of course, to false to begin with. Then var item selected. So that variable, I don't know if we'll really get the time to use, but that one will essentially be for us to like see an item in our hand. But for now, we'll just focus on just getting things crafted to begin with. But this little bit here is going to be for actually spawning in all those containers to begin with. Let me double check, make sure I get this. Length of our recipes. And our new panel equals crafting panel that instantiate. Then it's going to grab that new panel. It's going to get the first child. Then it's going to get the child off that. And it's going to set that text equal to recipes I0 plus \n. So this is like first begin like actually putting the text inside those like boxes that we did before. So that's essentially just getting it down to that little text label, and then it's going to put the name of the item and immediately do a like new line after it. And but now we need to do a loop because we don't know how many items you actually need to make it. So this needs to be modular. Recipes I1. So basically it goes like the I entry in your recipes and goes to the next thing, which actually contains all the items you need. and new panel dot get child 0. Same thing like before. Text equal. Then we're going to grab that same thing from before because we're just adding on to it. There we go. And then, oh, sorry. Make sure recipes. I 1 J 0. I know that looks weird. It does work. And then string. We're going to just take the same thing. But instead, we're going to reference 1. And I realize I didn't do it. I'll do it here since I forgot. There we go. Okay. So it's basically going to take what you did before and add on to it the next like name and like whatever items you're going to be adding that you need, then a space, and then how many of that item you need, and then like a new line from repeating the same thing again. So it's a bit of a lengthy line, but it should make sense. It's just those arrays, that's a fair bit of going within arrays. I assume you don't like that, Damien.
I also don't like how you can have multiple different data types in an array.
What's wrong with that?
It's just wrong. It feels too weird for me.
You guys use Unity?
Well, I started off with Unity. I've only recently used Godot. But I've also almost only worked in like object-oriented languages.
Yeah.
Nah, type variables are overrated.
Okay. And these last little bits, that recipe number is what ties in that bit of code we did before to actually know what recipe it's even trying to craft. And then, of course, this little bit here from getting the node is to actually add that new panel as a child to your crafting container. So if all that works, I should be able to load up here. And there we go. So I might have to change up a little bit how it looks. I think you have to make it so that it's a minimum size in the X direction for all those containers. But you do see it automatically makes a new entry for whatever items you just did. So you can put as many recipes as you want, and they'll just go there. But of course, if you add in too many, you might want to make it so there's a way to like scroll through them or search them or something else instead of having them all on screen. But it's a basic way to have it for now. And with that, I'm going to go ahead back to my player. I'm going to make it so you can't see the crafting container by default anymore. And let's go ahead to our project settings real quick. We need at least one new thing. Let's put craft as a new input map. And I'm going to make that E. We just need something for craft. Right, yeah. All right, so you have that new input map? All right. And we're going to go back down here. I don't think it matters where we put this guy. So I'm just going to put it here. If input dot is action just pressed, crafting. Oh, sorry, not crafting, craft, because that's what I named it this time. I forgot. If is crafting, then is crafting is now false. That's not how you spell false, that's how you spell false. Then input dot mouse mode equals input dot mouse mode captured. Else is crafting equal true. Input dot mouse mode equals input dot mouse mode visible. And then you're going to take your crafting container, and its visibility is going to be whatever your is crafting value is. There we go. So this little bit there should just be for checking if you press for crafting to turn that on and off for like looking at, and also to let you see your mouse again. Which also means in your case, you don't need to do a weird shortcut from leaving the game anymore than if you just have that working. So to make sure, I no longer see my mouse menu by default, but if I press E, I can now see that. And I can go to like whatever thing I want to craft. I forgot to do it. You can make it so also it disables like you turn your camera based on the is crafting thing. I just forgot to do that this time, but we'll be fine. But with that, we can actually access that menu. So the main thing left to get crafting working is doing that big old function for, well, the crafting itself. So let me make sure I have that ready. It's going to be a fair bit of code.
Is there a way to detach the script panel to another window?
There should be. It's been a while since I've done that. Multi-window. Oh, hang on. I think it might be the multi-window support thing where if you go to, let me see, interface, editor. Okay, so go to editor and
Oh,
then,
yeah, no, I just did it on my computer.
oh, nice.
You can also add Visual Studio.
Oh,
The same way you do it in Unity.
yeah.
Work it there.
All right, so I'm just going to grab this thing real quick for what that function is called since I changed it up. Func. There we go. And actually, I'm going to go ahead back up here because we did that whole thing for checking if we can pick up stuff. And you know, it's kind of lovely because we want to use that again, sort of. So we're just going to Control C, Control V. Just fix those indents. And I think we have to do a few smaller fixes. Let me double check. Yeah, of course, we don't have that loot anymore. So instead, we're checking if it has recipes, recipe number, 0, or okay, that should be fine. Can pick up. So, all right. And then next, we're going to check if we can actually can craft equal true. Our new inventory. We're going to take our old inventory and duplicate deep for I in range 0 length recipes recipe number 1 for referencing like the items that we're going to be trying to get. Or can craft part. Oops. Part false for j in range 0 length of inventory. Let's now search our inventory to see if we have this part. Inventory j. Oh, that's meant to be a j. 0 if that equals recipes recipe number 1 I 0, then if inventory oops, ji, okay, that's not ji, recipes recipe number 1 I 1. Okay, whoops, okay, no, we shouldn't need another if statement there. Then can craft part equals true. New inventory, whoops, I need a colon there. New inventory J1 minus equal recipes, recipe number 1 I 1, then if new inventory J1 equals 0, then that new inventory slot is just going to be nothing. And I believe we just go through all these guys. If can craft part equals false, then can craft is now false. And we're going to break. And Whoops. Okay. If can craft inventory equals that new inventory version. And just in case, we might as well duplicate that deep. There are probably some cases where you don't need to do that. I just do that every time with arrays when I'm duplicating them just to make extra sure I do not mess myself over. I have had so many issues before, I don't feel like trying to figure all that out anymore. Inventory slot equals recipes, recipe number, 0, recipes, recipe number, 2, else. And similar to what we've done before, we're just going to take this guy.
Wait, it's, so after the is it recipes? Recipe number.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. I think I hit the wrong tab there or something. Yeah, definitely recipes. And I'm just going to take this guy, add that to whatever's at that inventory. Let me see. Slot 1. Okay. So there will be, hang on. Yeah, there will be one last little bit to this code just to actually make it visually change your inventory. But I'll go ahead and explain all this now because this is like the actual core part of it done. So of course, to begin with, this is just checking that you can even have a slot to put your crafted item in. Alternatively, you could just like make it so you have a variable for saying, okay, just drop it instead. So that could be an easy thing to do, but at least now you have a way of knowing if you need to drop it or not. But regardless, you then move on to check if you can craft it, in which case you make up that new version of your inventory to keep track of, where you're going to first loop through the items that you're that you need for crafting. For each one, you're going to initialize a variable for like saying you can't craft that part. You're going to check through inventory to see if you have that. If you have enough parts, then subtract that for your new inventory, and also change that inventory slot to like an empty array if there's no longer enough items to keep as a slot. But then if you can't craft that item still, then that means you can't craft your overall thing, so you might as well turn that to false, and you can break out that whole function. Well, not function, but on the loop. There might be some way to inverse like which one's true and false, but I think you have to do it this way, where one starts as true, the other one starts as false, in order to really loop through it properly. But regardless, if after all that you can still craft the component, then you should go ahead and change your inventory to your new version of the inventory. And this stuff here is just simply for taking your inventory, like whatever slots, and adding your recipe stuff into there.
And after the plus inventory
Slot, and then at the first, or I guess second thing technically in there, because that's where you keep the amounts. And then our next line is going to be one last if statement. Well, actually, not if statement, a range. I said that very wrong. And this will be something you might want to change in the future if you add more inventory slots. This is just for referencing those 9 you have. So you probably want to make like a dedicated function for like refreshing it. That's essentially what we're doing here. Then we're going to grab inventory, get child, and we're going to grab the if child, and we're going to get the immediate child below that. There we go. If length inventory I 0. Then actually, let me go ahead and go back up here. No, never mind. I was going to retake our code from before. I realized that's not going to work this time for once. Get child 0.text equal inventory I 0. Slot container get child 1 text equal get the string of inventory I, and then the next entry for your amount. And if there's nothing there, then you're just going to set both of those text things just to an empty thing. And I'll even just take this guy. There we go. So it just goes through each of those slots. And then if there is something, it takes them, like what the thing is, puts in the first object, like your name. Then for the second object, it takes the amount and puts that in there. And then, of course, it just puts nothing if there is nothing there. But let's go ahead and try this out. I think that all should be correct. So at least I can still access that menu just fine. Let's go ahead and mine a tree. And let's say I want some, oh. Why do you not like me accessing that array? Let me check to make sure I got this all right. Invalid index of 0 on base array. Maybe I forgot something for making sure there is some, oh, I did. Because I had that exact same problem before. How did I forgot a whole line in here. Inventory inventory J. Right, yeah, it's greater than 0. There we go. That's all because that error is like from when it tries to access inventory slots like array, but there's nothing in there. So it just kind of breaks. Okay, let's try that this time. I'm sure that should be the only error. There we go. And, oh, there we go. I can craft sticks now. And you know what? Let's craft a sword. And I can also get a sword. And it, of course, subtracts the items, puts the new one in there, and it refreshes your inventory. So there is a quick way maybe to try and do actually seeing your items, but I don't know if we can do that in 4 minutes. But hey, at least that's the bare basics of destroying stuff, picking up the items from whatever you destroy, and being able to craft with those items. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other thing would just be making so you actually see the models in your hand. But I do have the code for that. It's just, yeah, that might take a bit more than 4 minutes. But I'll put that in like the overall thing I'll submit on like Discord probably either later tonight or tomorrow, where it'll just have the whole thing, like including the stuff I didn't cover tonight. Mm-hmm. Oh, that should be it for the tutorial. I'll go ahead and close off stream.